My Pisces friend looked innocent. But when she betrayed me, I showed her how deep I can go. Sarah Vance, at 32, had built a life she genuinely cherished in Seattle. Her apartment in Ballard, with its views of Puget Sound and the Olympic Mountains on clear days, felt like a sanctuary. Each morning, the crisp, salty air and the distant cry of gulls were her alarm clock, pulling her into a routine that felt both challenging and rewarding. She was a senior marketing manager at Veridian Digital, a reputable tech marketing agency nestled among the gleaming glass towers of downtown Seattle. Her work was her passion, crafting narratives for innovative startups, translating complex tech into compelling stories that resonated with audiences. She thrived on the city's electric energy, the hum of innovation that permeated every coffee shop and co-working space from South Lake Union to Fremont. Her best friend, Chloe Hayes, was the shimmering, elusive element in her otherwise grounded world. Chloe, also 32, fit the Pisces archetype with uncanny precision. She was an artist, a dreamer, seemingly gentle and ethereal, prone to flights of fancy and bursts of empathetic insight. Her eyes, a startling sea green, always held a hint of melancholic depth, making her seem perpetually innocent, almost fragile. Chloe dabbled in freelance design and content creation, often lamenting the soulless grind of corporate life while simultaneously struggling to make ends meet. Sarah, ever the pragmatic friend, offered advice, connections, and an open ear over countless lattes at Victrola coffee roasters or walks along the Olympic Sculpture Park. They shared weekend hikes in the Cascades, where Chloe would sketch wildflowers and Sarah would plan out new campaign strategies in her head. They confided their deepest fears and wildest aspirations, dreams whispered under the glow of city lights from Cary Park or over cheap wine in Sarah's living room. Sarah trusted Chloe implicitly, a bond forged over a decade, through college and the tumultuous early years of their careers. She believed in Chloe's artistic soul, her sensitive nature, and her unwavering loyalty. At Veridian Digital, Sarah was on the cusp of a career-defining moment. She was leading the pitch for Etha Dynamics, a burgeoning AI startup that promised to revolutionize data analytics. Securing Etha would not only elevate Veridian's standing, but cement Sarah's reputation as a strategic powerhouse within the fiercely competitive Seattle tech scene. The project consumed her. Late nights fueled by cold brew and the relentless glow of her laptop screen were the norm. She pored over market research, competitive analyses, and cutting-edge AI trends. Every slide, every word, every visual in her presentation was meticulously crafted, infused with her understanding of Etha's unique vision and her own creative flair. She shared every detail with Chloe, not just the broad strokes, but the confidential insights, the specific strategic pivots, the unique phrasing she'd coined for Etha's brand identity. She saw it as sharing her excitement with her best friend, a way to process the immense pressure and to receive Chloe's always sympathetic ear. Chloe, in turn, offered effusive praise. "You're a genius, Sarah. This is pure magic," her sea green eyes wide with admiration. Sarah felt seen, supported, and truly understood. The pitch day for Etha Dynamics arrived in late October 2019, a typical gray Seattle day, fittingly dramatic. The conference room, high above the city, offered panoramic views of the perpetually overcast sky. Sarah delivered her presentation with a quiet confidence born of relentless preparation. The Etha Dynamics executives, a notoriously sharp and discerning group, listened intently, their occasional nods signaling approval. Sarah felt a surge of professional pride as she wrapped up, answering their questions with clarity and conviction. She left the meeting feeling exhilarantly hopeful, the culmination of months of sacrifice and dedication. A few days later, the news hit Veridian like a sudden, brutal squall. Etha Dynamics had chosen another agency. Not a large, established competitor, but a smaller, newer outfit, Nova Collective. Sarah's boss, Mr. Henderson, a man whose disappointment was a heavy, tangible thing, called her into his office. He was professional, but the air was thick with unspoken questions about what had gone wrong. Sarah felt a cold dread creep into her stomach. She had been so certain. Her pitch had been so strong. Confused, hurt, and bewildered, Sarah retreated to her apartment, the panoramic views now mocking her with their vast indifference. She scrolled aimlessly through her social media feed, seeking a distraction from the gnawing sense of failure. Then her thumb froze. A post from Nova Collective's official page. A press release, glowing and triumphant. Her eyes scanned the text, then fixed on the accompanying photo. There, beaming, standing next to Nova Collective's CEO, was Chloe Hayes. The announcement lauded her as Nova Collective's new head of strategy, praising her visionary leadership and her instrumental role in securing the Etha Dynamics account. A sickening lurch twisted Sarah's insides. The photo, Chloe's radiant smile, the words, it felt like a deliberate, sadistic joke. Sarah clicked on the link to the full press release, her heart pounding a frantic rhythm against her ribs. As she read, a chill far colder than Seattle's autumn air enveloped her. The description of Nova Collective's winning strategy, Chloe's quoted statements, the unique market insights they claimed to have uncovered, it was a distorted echo of her own pitch. Not just similar, but eerily, explicitly identical in certain key phrases, the same unorthodox data visualizations, even the subtly unique brand identity she had crafted for Etha. Chloe hadn't just joined Nova Collective. She had stolen Sarah's work, her intellectual property, and repackaged it as her own, using it as her ticket to a senior leadership role. The Pisces friend, the innocent dreamer, had used their decade-long friendship as a personal data mine, a well of unguarded information to plunder for her own cynical gain. The revelation was a physical blow, leaving Sarah breathless, gasping for air in her own living room. The vibrant colors of her life drained to a monochromatic gray. The betrayal cut deeper than any professional setback ever could. It wasn't just a lost client, it was a lost trust, a shattered illusion. She felt violated, used, and utterly, profoundly stupid for having been so blind. Sarah tried to confront Chloe. Her phone call was met with a saccharine sweetness that grated on Sarah's raw nerves. "Oh, Sarah, I'm so sorry about Viridian, but this was just an amazing opportunity I couldn't pass up. My pitch was just aligned better with what they wanted. You're just jealous, honey. I worked hard for this." Chloe's voice, usually soft and melodious, now sounded like a discordant strumming, each word a further twist of the knife. The gaslighting was so seamless, so effortlessly delivered, it almost made Sarah doubt her own sanity. Almost. The subsequent months were a blur of numb despair. Sarah went through the motions at work, her once sharp focus dulled by a thick fog of depression. Sleep became an elusive ghost, replaced by restless nights spent staring at her Ballard ceiling, replaying every conversation, every shared secret, searching for the telltale signs she had so carelessly missed. The vibrant city around her, once a source of endless inspiration, now seemed to mock her with its relentless energy. Friends tried to reach out, but her pain was a wall, isolating her. She lost weight, her usually bright eyes hollowed by exhaustion, and a pervasive sense of grief not for a person, but for the fundamental betrayal of human decency. During this period of profound desolation, a flicker of something cold and resolute began to stir within Sarah. As she replayed Chloe's gaslighting, her feigned innocence, a pattern began to emerge, chillingly clear. Chloe's past, struggles, always seemed to end with her landing on her feet. Often after a company or project, she was involved with experienced some unexplained setback. Her uncanny ability to charm and leverage connections, her frequent requests for advice or insights on Sarah's projects, now seemed less like innocent appeals for help and more like calculated probes. Chloe wasn't just a dreamer. She was a predator, cloaked in a perpetual guise of vulnerability. Sarah remembered a casual remark Chloe had made years ago about a past project in Portland, Oregon. Chloe had vaguely alluded to it, going south, due to a difficult client and unforeseen circumstances. A typical Chloe-esque shrug that had seemed innocuous at the time. Now, that seemingly throwaway comment echoed in Sarah's mind, a tiny, almost imperceptible thread connecting to a larger, darker tapestry. A slow, simmering anger began to replace the despair. It wasn't about getting Etha dynamics back. It was about exposing Chloe. About showing the world and Chloe herself the true depth of Sarah's resolve, the sharpness of her mind, the lengths she would go to for justice. Her marketing background, she realized, wasn't just about selling products. It was about research, analysis, understanding human behavior, and strategically disseminating information. Her hidden advantage lay in her honed ability to dig, to connect seemingly disparate dots, and to craft a devastatingly accurate narrative. She started small, late in 2020, after the initial shock had worn off and a steely resolve had taken root. From her Ballard apartment, now transformed into a clandestine command center, Sarah began her covert operation. She used professional networking sites like LinkedIn, scrolling through Chloe's past employers, noting the brief tenures, the vague descriptions of her roles. She cross-referenced names, dates, and companies with local news archives, tech industry forums, and even obscure trade publications. Her method was methodical, almost surgical. She searched for any whispers, any disgruntled former colleagues, any unexplained corporate shifts that coincided with Chloe's presence. The Portland incident became her primary focus. Chloe had worked briefly for a company called Cascadia Innovations, a software development firm. Sarah remembered Chloe mentioning a project there involving a new user interface. Sarah began cold emailing former Cascadia employees she found on LinkedIn, subtly framing her inquiries as market research for a fictional project, or pretending to be a recruiter doing an unusual background check for a highly specialized role. She was careful, never directly accusing, always just probing for general information about company culture, project successes, and, subtly, any unexpected challenges or turnovers during specific periods. Slowly, painfully, details began to surface. A former mid-level engineer from Cascadia, initially hesitant, became more open after Sarah's persistent, polite inquiries. He spoke of a promising new software interface that had been mysteriously shelved due to a critical design flaw after Chloe had left. He also mentioned an IP infringement lawsuit Cascadia had faced from a smaller competitor shortly thereafter, alleging their interface was too similar to their own patented design. The engineer remembered Chloe, then a junior designer, as being remarkably well-connected and too curious for her own good, always asking pointed questions about proprietary code and upcoming features. He vaguely recalled an internal investigation, but nothing concrete ever came of it publicly. Sarah then found an old, cached forum post on a niche software development forum from 2018. An anonymous user, claiming to be a former Cascadia employee, lamented about internal sabotage and hinted at a mole who passed information to a competitor, causing their flagship project to be shelved. The dates aligned perfectly with Chloe's tenure. The pieces clicked into place with horrifying clarity. Chloe hadn't just stolen Sarah's Etha Dynamics pitch, she had a documented pattern of professional larceny. She would infiltrate, extract valuable intellectual property, and then leave just as the consequences began to unfold, moving on to the next unsuspecting target. The Pisces innocence was a meticulously crafted disguise for a cold, calculating opportunist. Sarah realized her plan could not be a lawsuit. Lawsuits were messy, expensive, and often dragged on for years, allowing Chloe to play the victim and disappear into another state. Sarah's revenge had to be surgical, precise, and administered within the very ecosystem Chloe thrived upon. It had to hit where Chloe was most vulnerable: her reputation and her future prospects in the insular world of tech marketing. By early 2021, Sarah had compiled her dossier. It was a masterpiece of investigative journalism, a meticulously sourced and cross-referenced document that laid bare Chloe Hayes's history. It detailed the Cascadia Innovations incident, presenting the forum post, the engineer's anonymized testimony, and the public records of the IP lawsuit. It highlighted other instances of short-term employments followed by corporate instability. And finally, it included irrefutable evidence of the Etha Dynamics pitch theft. Side-by-side comparisons of Sarah's early drafts and Chloe's winning proposal, time-stamped emails from shared documents Sarah had access to, and detailed breakdowns of the unique phraseology and strategic elements Chloe had lifted. Sarah was careful to anonymize any direct sources, protecting those who had inadvertently helped her. She knew sending it directly to Nova Collective would likely result in an internal cover-up. She needed to bypass their PR machine and hit them where it truly mattered, their credibility with their most significant partners and investors. Sarah researched Nova Collective's key stakeholders. Her target became Robert Thorne, a legendary figure in the Seattle tech investment scene, known for his uncompromising stance on corporate ethics. Thorne sat on several tech ethics boards and was a vocal advocate for transparency and integrity. Critically, Etha Dynamics was considering additional long-term partnerships, and Nova Collective was aggressively pursuing them. Using a burner email account and a VPN, Sarah sent the dossier to Robert Thorne. Her accompanying message was brief, professional, and chillingly effective. Mr. Thorne, as a concerned industry observer, I feel compelled to bring to your attention a potential risk associated with your investment in Nova Collective, particularly concerning their new head of strategy, Chloe Hayes. The attached document details a pattern of professional misconduct that could severely jeopardize future partnerships, especially with companies like Etha Dynamics, who value intellectual property and ethical conduct above all else. Integrity is paramount in this ecosystem. She attached the dossier, a digital bomb waiting to detonate. The fallout was swift, silent, and devastating. Robert Thorne, a man who built his empire on trust, did not publicly accuse. Instead, he initiated his own discreet, internal investigation through his vast network. Sarah knew this because whispers started circulating. Nova Collective's stock, which had seen a modest bump after the Etha Dynamics win, began to subtly plateau, then dip. Etha Dynamics, notoriously risk-averse when it came to IP, quietly put their ongoing discussions with Nova Collective on an indefinite hold. No public statements were made, but the grapevine in Seattle's tech community was buzzing. Etha Dynamics' CEO, known for his meticulousness, simply started exploring alternatives, sending a clear, unspoken message. Within weeks, a terse internal memo circulated within Nova Collective, eventually leaking to a small industry blog. Chloe Hayes had resigned from Nova Collective due to strategic differences and to pursue other opportunities. The polite corporate euphemisms couldn't mask the truth. Chloe, once the rising star, the celebrated architect of their biggest win, had been unceremoniously jettisoned. Her professional reputation, once her most valuable asset, was utterly shattered. In the close-knit, highly reputation-driven world of Seattle tech, word spread like wildfire. No one would publicly state the reasons, but everyone knew. Chloe, the seemingly innocent Pisces, was now toxic. Her calls went unanswered, her emails unreturned. She tried to spin a new narrative on LinkedIn, but the silence from the industry was deafening. She was adrift, untethered, floating aimlessly in the very currents she had tried to manipulate. Sarah watched from a distance, a quiet, almost cold satisfaction settling deep within her. She hadn't sought to ruin Chloe's entire life, but she had systematically dismantled the one thing Chloe truly valued: her professional ascent, built on a foundation of lies and betrayal. The industry, which Chloe had so cleverly exploited, had now cast her out. Sarah, meanwhile, had quietly rebuilt her own standing at Viridian Digital, earning back Mr. Henderson's trust with renewed focus and a newfound, steely determination. The scar of betrayal remained, a permanent reminder of the lessons learned. But so did the quiet strength, the resilience, and the profound, deeply personal satisfaction of having shown her Pisces friend just how deep she could go.